It's Friday. Hi, I'm Bonnie Claire, and this is my channel here for Lit, where we talk all about books. And today I thought I would do just a quick recap of what I read in February. We are in the thick of allergy season, so if I sound congested, it's because I am. So the first book that I finished was a Riley Sager. I've been trying to read all of them so I can rank them just for fun. And I have one left after this. I finally got it at the library. But the one I finished in February was With a Vengeance. And this is the story of our protagonist, Anna. And Anna has a chip on her shoulder, so she decides to gather a group of people who she feels have wronged her or her family, and she's looking for revenge. But very quickly, her plans go sideways. So this is a group that's stuck on a train, which is always fun. If you've read Murder on the Orient Express from Agatha Christie, that was a very good example of a stuck on a train story. I will say this one wasn't my favorite, but I am trying to read them all. So the problem that I had with this book was the main character. I just never liked her. And if I can't get behind someone fully, then it's hard for me to really get into a book. So that's kind of where my feelings were left with this one. But the twists and turns were good. The desire to read till the end because you want to know what happens was pretty high. And some of the secondary characters were really good. But the main character, not my favorite. You'll get the full picture when I rank them all, but you can probably already guess this one's not going to be top of the list. The next book that I finished was Adventures in Time, The Second World War by Dominic Sandbrook. And this is definitely geared to a younger audience, probably YA, middle grade to YA. I bought it for my 11-year-old son, and then I read it. But there's a series of these Adventures in Time books. They're nonfiction, and I would read more, honestly, just for me. I think it did a really good job of covering the arc of World War II. And what it is it's just telling true stories from that era, from World War II. So it did a really good job of covering the full chronology of the war, including stories from the different locations where the war took place. So it was not only educational, but the stories were really well written, and I came across stories of people who had never heard of, experiences of survival in the war, so it was also very captivating, and each story was really well done. I read The Intruder by Freida McFadden. I haven't read much by Freida McFadden. I think the only book I've read actually is The Housemaid, which was fine. But I actually liked The Intruder pretty well. There are two storylines that you follow throughout the book. So one of them is a woman who had some trouble at home. You don't really know what that is for a while, but there's something that happened that made her want to retreat into the woods. She's joined by a stranger in the middle of a storm. And then the other storyline is of a teenage girl who's growing up in a hoarder house. I try to err on the side of not spoiling anything, so I'm usually pretty vague. I thought that the hoarder house point of view was really interesting, but it was also hard, like stomach turning, just hard to read about someone growing up in that kind of environment. But I think that's about all I want to say so I don't spoil it, but I thought this one was pretty gripping. But I liked this one more than The Housemaid, actually. That brings me to a did not finish. I tried another Freida McFadden. They're pretty easily available at my library, so that's what got me started. And I tried The Tenant and just could not get into it, so that one I returned. Couldn't get into it, didn't really like our main character. I feel like I could pretty easily poke holes into kind of the problem in the story early on, and so I don't know. When I get into moods kind of like today, where I'm just like, I don't have the energy to pretend like I believe this, then it's not gonna happen. So that's how I felt with The Tenant. The next one was for my book group, and it's called The Book Club for Troublesome Women. Seems like a fitting one for a book group, right? It's by Maria Bostwick. Nope. It's by Marie Bostwick. And this is a historical fiction that takes place in 1960s America. And it's a group of women who form a book group. And the first book that they read is The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. And then you kind of get pulled into the lives of these different women and how their friendships grow and the growth and changes that these women experience as they confront various situations related to gender equality and gender roles in the home, in the workplace. And this is all in the frame of the 1960s, so a lot of change. And I liked it. This was a really fun one to discuss, and also just fun to talk about the power of friendship. If you look at everything I've read this month, you'll see why I consider it the light one. The next one I read is The House Next Door by Anne Rivers Siddons. This was a book published in the 1970s, and I'll say right off the bat to probably look up any trigger warnings. There is animal harm early on. Like, it's brief, but just kind of like, oh, I did not see that coming. It was a little shocking. This is a neighborhood that is probably on the wealthy side in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I think. And it's kind of told from the point of view of a gossipy neighborhood. And there is one plot that hasn't been built on. So from the get-go, when someone decides to build on this lot, there's talk. And it's a very different kind of house. I think it's supposed to be like a modern style. And so there's already a lot of talk about the house itself. And then when people move in, things start to really go wrong in their lives. And over the course of the book, you get to know the situations of 3 different family units that live in that house. So things go wrong for those who live there, but then it starts to kind of seep out and affect those in the neighborhood as well. So it's very tense, and it's a slow burner. There's just this dread, I think is the best word for it. You know, like, first of all, you have no idea what's going on. Is this house haunted? What is the deal? And so there's just the mystery element, but then just this dread of, like, you know, something bad is going to happen to everybody, pretty much. I thought it was just such a different take on kind of the haunted house cliche, and I really liked it. There were really difficult parts of the book, though. So there was some homophobia and a little bit of anti-Semitism as well with one character. That, I don't know if it was just trying to represent the views of the time, but it did kind of put me off a little bit in the book. Kind of like with the stuff with the animals. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. And so, I mean, I went into the book knowing nothing. So with a lot of recommendations, I do recommend with caveats, right? But yeah, so most everything was kind of deathy. There's a lot of death in the books I read. A lot of hard things. So that's why the book club for Troublesome Women was the light read for the month. I haven't read anything on my 40 before 40 list yet, so I'm going to try to do that for March. And I know some people do middle grade March, which I love some middle grade, and so I'll try to do that, I think. Those are the 5 books I read. So let me know if you've read any or want to read any now that I've talked so glowingly about them. Thank you for those who've subscribed and commented so far. Please subscribe and join in on this little community. I love talking about books, whether I like them or don't like them, whether you like them or don't like them. I'm always looking for recommendations, even though I probably have a to-be-read list that's longer than I'm gonna live, but you never know. Might live forever. All right, till next time, I will see you whenever. Bye.